So what we are trying to do today is we have this player class with these attributes, the no-algs constructor, all-algs constructor, getter, setter, and the toString. So I want to store. Yesterday what we were doing is we were taking data in our array list like this. It was in the application data. But what would happen in real time is the client might give us data in a JSON file, that this is the data you want, you have, the client has given. And so what we need to be mindful of this data is that the key of this JSON should match with our class. So see, this should match the keys. So here if name, he has given name. So whatever data the client has given, so what we need to do is just make a class. So we can use any AI tool also to use this. So if I come here and if I ask ChatGPT, okay, give me Java class for this data, for this JSON. So it will give you the corresponding Java class. So I'm sharing it with you. Okay, I just took that one object from JSON and put it on the ChatGPT, and I say give me a Java class for this JSON. It gives you the Java class. It has named the class as cricketer. We can name it as player. Okay, see the same. So just copy this and make your Java class. So far so good. So we have made the class player. Now to read this we require 3 jar files. I've shared that jar file with you all. So how to add those jar files? Right click on your application, go to build path, configure build path, go to libraries, select your class path. If these tabs are disabled by default, as soon as you click class path they get enabled. Go to add external jars, choose the jars which I gave you all these 3 jars, click on open, okay, and then apply and close. So those jars will be added. So see, it got added duplicates, so we had already had it, so I'll remove the duplicates. Select one and remove, select the other, okay, and remove, and select this and apply. And then what we need to do is come here, do Control Shift O. Okay, so this, all these imports are coming from those JSONs. So I save that, I do a Control Shift O, and it should import. If it's not importing, then let's do a project clean. Okay. And then let's do an import. So these classes are coming from those jars. So now do I have the jars over here? Let's add them again. Okay. Right click, build path, configure build path. Okay, removed all of them. So add external jars, select these 3, open, apply, close. Okay, now do a Control Shift O to import all our classes which we need. And now just copy this code. So what we are fetching from the JSON is a list of player. We are storing them in the players object. Initializing this above try so that I can read it inside try. So outside try I can access it. That's why I've initialized it null outside the try block. Then just write this code, new file. Where is the file located? In the data folder, player.json, data folder, player.json. And what it is giving me, it is giving me list of players. That's all the players will be fetched. So let's try this code. So let me just try this into a separate so that you will understand. Read from JSON. So what it will do, you just write this much code. Okay, and it gives you the all the players data over here. If this file was not in our application folder and it was somewhere else, then you could have used this style. Okay, then commented out this part and then uncomment this part. So whatever location, this is Windows. Okay, so in this you have to give this format. The slash is changing. Okay, this was the forward slash, is the backward slash 2 over here, and give the entire path of that file from the drive till the file extension. But as our file is inside the folder, no need to keep it like this. Okay, so now once we have got the JSON, now we'll try to do some collections on this. So from this I want only the player names. Give me the, in this JSON there are 14 player objects. There are 14 player objects. Of those 14, I just want the 14 player names. So how will I do that? So using streams, let's try players dot stream, and then 14 input, 14 output. I will give 14 player objects input and I will get 14 player names output. So I will use map because the size of input and output is same. And I can either do it like this using lambda, that for every player get the name and then convert it to list. Okay, this list function is introduced in JDK 16 onwards. So those who are using JDK 16 onwards, they can only be able to see this. Okay, older versions do not have this option. Older version have collect and collectors.toList like that. Okay, so older version will have something like this. If you're using JDK 1.8, then you will have something like this: dot collect and collectors dot toList. Like this, you'll have to convert it to a list. But here in JDK 16 onwards, you have directly toList, and I'm using JDK 17. I'm using JDK 17. So it will give you a list of all the names. So what will be the output? List of string. List of string and player names. Okay. So player names. So now let's run it and check. So this will give you all the player names. See, all the only player names are filtered out. Okay. Then if you want only player names of India, then we'll have to first do a filter and then do the map. Okay, so let's give a question before everyone. Display all player names only. I just want the player names. Oh, we can give a question. Fetch all player names and store in a list. Store in a list. Okay. So if there were ever chances of duplicate names, that two players having the same name, then I could have used a set of string rather. Okay. So then here what? This function will change. No. So it is just taking toList. Then we'll have to typecast that into a. So if you were to remove the duplicate, okay, if there are duplicate players and we want to remove that, so we'll have to do a toList only, list of, and then explicitly we need to convert this into a set if that need arises. Set of string, okay, unique the duplicate player names. Okay. So this was fetch all players and store in a list. If they had asked fetch or display all the player names, no need to store in a list, then they would have said display all player names. So what we would have done, taken the players, put the string, do the mapping, and now instead of using this lambda, we have a function in this class which is doing this job. We could have done that also, which is that function get player name, so get name, and then directly we could have used the for each and displayed it. And there also we have a function print. So that is, we can keep on doing method referencing. So now it is showing me in a list, and now it will display me vertically all the player names because I have taken println. If you don't want to store in a list, you can fetch it directly. See over here, it has shown me in vertically. So these are all. So now if I said fetch all the player names of India, if I say fetch all Indian player names and store in a list, so before now we had 14 objects. I took 14 names. Now upon the 14 I want the 7 Indian objects, so I'll do a filter first. And what will be the predicate for the filter? The country should be India. So I'll take one player and say player dot get country name dot equals, I'm not interested with the casing. So first get me all the Indian players name, and first get me all the Indian players by filter, and from the map, so the input for this was 14, there were 14 objects. It filtered out and gave me output as only 7. And now for this 7 I want 7 names, so I will use a map because the input will also be 7 and output will also be 7. The difference is input will be 7 objects, output will be 7 strings. That's why my list now should be of list of string. Display output is list of string, and then collect it to the list and show it. And let's start this out. Okay. Indian player name. So now it would, after the vertical listing, it should show me all the Indian player names. See, showing all the Indian player names. Now if I want to group these cricketers based on a condition that those who have played more than 300 matches and those who have played less than 300 matches. So more than 300 matches and less than 300 matches. So here I will use partition by, because there will be only 2 categories, more than and less than, right? So if there are only 2 categories you want to make, okay, you just want 2 groups, then you use partition by. If you want multiple groups, use group by. So now let's try to do it. So now I will say partition or the players based on who have played more than 300 matches and less than 300 matches. Now I have only 2 group of players, so I will use partition by. So how will I do that now? Players dot stream dot collect and collectors dot partition by, and what is the predicate now? take one player and pass it to this filtration. What is that? That player dot get matches should be more than 300. Let's take equal to. Okay, so those also are equal to will come in the true. And so now this will give me what? Partition by the key is fixed, that is boolean, and value is list of the stream which I have applied. So player is what? List of stream. Player is a list of player. So value will be list of player. Okay, and players. Okay, by matches played 300. I'll just name this true. We are taking one player. Import the boolean get matches creating there. Okay, then reverse this out. So now it will show you true and false and two categories of players. So it will show you those are fulfilling the condition. So those who will fulfill the conditions. So you all tell me now. Will Virat fulfill the condition? No. Virat will go in false. Rohit will also go in false. Dhoni will go in true. Sachin will go in true. Dravid will go in true. Yuvraj will go in true. Ganguly will go in true. De Villiers will go in true. De Kock false. Callis true. I'm reading this value. Okay, so let's check it now. Let's run this. So it will give me two keys, true and false. And in the true key will be all those players who fulfill this predicate. In the false key, see, false, all are false. Virat is false. Okay, Rohit is false. It will give you the entire object, but I don't want the entire object. I want the names now. Okay. So here we had given partition the player objects. Now I want partition the player names. So what the partition by returning, we can apply a downstream over there. Player names. So now whatever your, now I don't want the list of the entire player, I just want the name. So now it will not be list of player, it will be list of string. Okay, player by matches. So here I can say player objects and use that in the display. And here I can say player names. Okay. So what we'll do? Stream collect partition. Now I will get each player. Now here only. Okay. Don't close the bracket. Just give a comma over here and say you can. You want the names, right? Only names. So we will say collectors dot mapping. And what we want? Only the name. So name we are getting from which method? You can refer the players. Which method? Get name, and then convert that to a list. So this null, you can write collectors dot to list. So we need to convert that to a list. Okay. Now this is good. So we can make it. I wanted to put on separate lines, but this will break the syntax. Show it to you all in one single frame what I have done here. So I've taken the stream, then the collect, partitioned them by the attribute this, and once it is partitioned, I've done a downstream also that I just want the name of the players, not the entire list. So now when I will display this, you will see the difference. What what I mean by player name. So list of, so now it will categorize into two categories: more than 300 true and the names of those players, and false less. So Virat, Rohit, Quinton de Kock, Miller have played less than 300. Dhoni, Sachin, Dravid have played more than 300. So now if you want to display both of them separately, players who have played less than 300 matches, then of this list you can take the false key of this hash map, take the false key. So I will do get and I will pass false. So in the hash map, if you do the get, it gives you the, if you get the key, it gives you the value, and if you want to display more than 300, then you get the true key. So it is stored data in the hash map based on your client's requirement. Now you can play around with this data. See, players who have played less than 300 matches, the Virat this, more than this. Okay, so here there was only two keys, true and false, so we did partition by. What if I want to group them by their country? So group the players country wise. Okay, so now it is asking me to group the player objects. So I want the objects. So of India, all the objects of Indian players will go in a separate list. Of all the West Indian objects will go in a separate list. So now what to do? How to do that? Players dot stream dot collect. Okay, collectors dot grouping by, now because now we have multiple groups. So if I have countries from 10 nationalities, I will have 10 groups. Here there was only two groups: who is fulfilling this condition, who is not fulfilling the condition. That is partition by. Now we have grouping by, and now first give the key value. So in grouping by we have to provide the key. So I am grouping them based on which key. So I will say player and get country name. So it will make me a map. Country name is a what type of data? String. And the default value in both of them is the list of the collection on which we are applying the string. So list of player, okay, and I will say country wise player objects. I have showed the objects over here. So now let's this out and let's display this country wise player objects. So it will take all the Indian objects in the Indian key. So we'll make a key India, a key has been made West Indies, and all the West Indies player in that. Okay, a key has been made South Africa, and all the South African players in that key. Okay, a key has been made Australia, and all the Australian players in that key, list of all Australian players, and a key has been made India and all the Indian players. So we had only 4 nationalities, so only 4 keys are made. If you had 10 nationalities, it would make 10 keys. But now I just want the name. I don't want the player objects, I want the player names. So what we will do, I'll write it from scratch so that we can practice. So group of player names, not objects, country wise. So now we will apply the downstream. So now what will we get as a response? The country is a string and group of player name also is a string. Okay, and we will say country wise player names. Country wise player names. Okay, so what will we do? Player dot players dot stream, do a collect, and in that collectors dot grouping by. Okay, and we are grouping by which category? The country name. And now inside the bracket only here you have to apply the downstream. And what I want now, so I will say collectors dot mapping, and I want to map based on their name. I just want the name. Get name, and then I will convert into a list. So I will say collectors dot to list. This is the complete syntax. Okay. So now it will give you list of player names, not the entire object. This out, and now you do this. So you will get that, feel the difference. Country wise player names. So now the JSON which will be returned will give West Indies and name of players of West Indies, South Africa, name of players South Africa, Australia, name of Australian players, and India, name of Indian players. If you want count of players, then per country, okay, display count of players from each country. Then once you have done the grouping by player count, so now it will show West Indies 3, India 4. So now this will change. This will change to string and long. And now here we will not convert it to this. Directly we can say dot counting. Directly we can say what? Dot counting. That's all. So it will give you the long value which you can display. Country wise player count. Okay. Now which is that country which is having the maximum number of players? So it is India. So if I want to display that country name, then display country having maximum number of players. So what will we do? Now see this, okay. So what you can do is, once you have got this collection, this hash map, all this data in a hash map is in its entry set. So you can say of this hash map I will get the entry set. On this I will put the stream. So I will get one entry. Of that I will find the maximum, and in hash map we don't use collectors, we use map dot entry. So give me the maximum of map dot entry, and here I will compare by which key or attribute I will be comparing by value. So it will give me India and 7. Of this I want only the key, so I will say map, and same map dot entry, and I will get the, I just want the key. Okay, so I just want the key over there. So max we have got comparing by value, and map dot entry, and then dot comparing by value, comparing by, there is a function which gives us the key over here. Let me just check that. So we can, it's just a method referencing, so we can use get the key, and that key, okay, if it doesn't give you the key, so we can say or else give me null if those map doesn't give you appropriate key. And now you can use string content